See, we've got a captive audience now. We're our victims, sorry. It would just be really quick and then let you go. But we thought this might be of interest to you, and also, in a way, we kind of need your help. We've got a little video that we'll play in a minute, but just to explain, John had this idea ages ago that he wanted to go and find the very, very first planners, so the first generation planners at like BNP and JWT, and actually what we found out, there were a couple of other agencies involved, weren't there, and all sorts of other things which we won't spoil now. Anyway, we've written it, there's a manuscript, and we've got some publishers, but what we wanted to do was, because what we found was that in these early days, planners were really, really collaborative. I know planners are collaborative today, but perhaps it was a bit easier then, I don't know. Very conversational, and it felt like a real community. John will talk about the book in a bit more detail, but what we wanted to do was actually put this on the Unbound website. I don't know if you know Unbound, but they don't say this, but a lot of people say it's the Kickstarter for books. So you write your manuscript, in order to get it published, you ask for pledges. So rather than buying the book once it's published, you pledge your money for the book, and you help create and fund that book, basically. And as a thank you, your name goes in the book. And we thought what a nice thing it would be for the community of planners these days to be funding and be in the book, which is about the community of planners that started it all back in sort of 1968, early 70s. So we've got a little video. John will tell you a little bit more, but that's what we were hoping that we'd be able to do, have a sort of co-funded, crowd-funded community of planners helping us to bring this book to life, really.
Can we show the film first?
Yeah, let's show the film first. It won't go on for long.
Here is an important message.
So our book is called 98% Pure Potato, and it traces the origins of advertising account planning, going right the way back to the late 60s.
High-active persil gives a purer whiteness. The through-and-through whiteness all mums need with a lively boy around.
What is really special about this book is that all of the evidence and analysis is based on the face-to-face interviews that we did with the 20 or so very first planners in the UK who were hired by BNP and JWT. And what that's given us is a really colourful, creative, and sometimes quite controversial set of stories about how advertising originated, how these planners built brands like Oxo and Persil and Andrex, and how they came to produce advertising, iconic advertising imagery like Sugar Puffs, Honey Monster,
Mummy.
I'm not his mummy.
Hofmeister Bear, even the Smash Martians.
On your last trip, did you discover what the Earth people eat? They eat a great many of these.
For mash, get smash.
A few years ago, I met David Cowan at a Marketing Society event and was very excited to meet him because I had just been reading a paper about the beginnings of account planning where he was one of those named. In James Bond parlance, it was as if I had met 001 or 002, and that gave me the idea of going to track down the first ever planners that worked at these two agencies. What excited me when we spoke to them was hearing first-hand accounts of how they did it. They didn't do it from a book or according to a template or following a process. Actually, they made it up as they went along.
Yes, it is a surprise. No, I haven't cooked it before. Yes, it is foreign. No, Jason, it's not a hamburger. Yes, Alice and Dolly will love it. No, Nick, no garlic. And Michael. Remember Preston?
This project for me has been a bit like tracing my family tree, right from trying to understand who the first planners were, to getting in touch with them, tracking them down, going to their houses, having tea with them, chatting with them. And it was really useful for me as I was about to embark on my role as Chief Strategy Officer at JWT to hear these stories, because it gave me a much better understanding of why planning was done in the way it was done at JWT and how it impacted the entire culture of the agency.
Arkwright, you're a lucky man.
Oh, Arkwright.
Oh, hello, love. Didn't see you there.
But it's not just a book about the past. what it's given us, a huge amount of learnings and lessons that we can take to any planning department, to any agency, and use those to help us create, help us design a better planning department for the future.
98% pure potato.
One of the things that struck us was how collaborative planners are. That's why we're crowdfunding this book. To order your personal copy of 98% Pure Potato and to get your name listed in the back, head over to unbound.co.uk.
Thank you.
So it's a bit of an experiment, but there's some brilliant stories in there, particularly from a lot of the female planners who were around in the early days. And there's some very funny stories about fights and fisticuffs and how nobody wrote a creative brief. And they didn't like quants, but they loved data. And yeah, there was quite a lot of fights and drinking, wasn't there? No. Anyway, if you'd like a copy, if you go to Unbound, it'd be great if you could help to get the project off the ground and we can get it printed. That's it, really.
I think so. I mean, the other thing to mention about it is that what happens with a lot of books is you have these conversations and then it gets written and you get it in the book. The interviews on which the book is based, we are releasing one a week until the funding. So the first one, which will be going up this evening, tomorrow, is with Paul Felbick. And the idea is that every week you'll get to hear what they said in the interview. Because a lot of it will be in the book, but at the same time we ask kind of real fanzine questions like, you know, what's the high point of your career? And
who's your favourite planner?
Who's your favourite planner? Actually, Judy wasn't happy about that question. But, you know, I mean, of course, the really interesting question is not who is your favourite planner, but why would they be your favourite planner? So we've asked them to tell us that. So it's things like that where we actually get to hear what the original planners thought was great planning or what influenced them. So the idea is that we give that away eventually so that that's available to people. We've got it on audio, got it on video, so hopefully you'd want to be a part of it.
That's it. Okay. Safe trip home. Thanks for coming. Bye.